Hi, I'm Roxanne Richardson, and this is Technique Tuesday. This little swatch was cast on using the Estonian Cast On. So it's a decorative cast on, and you can see how in this knit 2 purl 2 fabric you have this horizontal strand that spans the width of those 2 stitches, and then there's another one that spans the purl stitches. If you look at it in knit 1 purl 1 ribbing, you get this effect where that strand is spanning a pair of knit 1 purl 1. It's very stretchy. I can stretch it as much as I can stretch the fabric itself. So the Estonian cast on, which you see in this swatch, is a variation on the long tail cast on, the 2 different methods that you can use for long tail cast on, which you see over here. So this is considered the standard method of the long tail cast on, and it has edges that twist to the right. You can kind of see these diagonals that twist to the right. So all of those twisted loops are going to the right because the strand that is on top of the twisted loop is angled to the right. This one has those stitches angled to the left, and that's because when you look at these twisted loops, the strand that is on top is twisting to the left. What the Estonian cast on does is combine those by working them in pairs. So you work a standard long tail cast on that twists to the right, followed by a left twisting long tail cast on second. And that is what creates these pairs where you have this horizontal strand across the base of those 2 stitches. So because this is a variation of the long tail cast on, you need to measure out the amount of tail that you need. If you don't know how to go about accurately measuring the amount of tail that you need, I do have a recent video which I will link to above and down in the description. Whatever length of tail that you need, that tail hangs over the front of your thumb, and then the other one hangs over your index finger. We're not starting with a slip knot here. So you're going to grasp those strands in your palm. You're going to take your needle, you're going to dive it down and point it toward you, and then twist to the left. And that just creates a little bit of a left twist. It's like a backwards loop. It's just a twist. That's our first cast on stitch. It's going to end up as our last cast on stitch, but we're going to start with that loop. Now we're going to do the pairs. So we've got our slingshot here. We're ready to do a standard long tail cast on stitch. So we're coming through the front of that loop, and you can see that right twist right there. Grab the yarn and pull it through. And now we're going to tighten that up. So now we're back in place to do another long tail cast on stitch, but we need to do the reverse. So we're going to take our thumb out, swing it around this way, so that that strand comes from the outside of the thumb rather than from the inside. And now we're going to go through the loop this way in order to get that yarn. Pull it through, and that's going to create the left twist. And so now you can see you've got this little pair right here. So now you're going to do your regular long tail cast on. Switch it and to the left, so you can come through here, grab that yarn, pull it through, and now you have another pair. So as you get used to what you're doing, you can do your regular one, and as it comes out, bring your thumb around to the outside in order to tighten it up. Do your left twisting long tail cast on, and when that one comes out, bring your thumb into the center to be ready for a standard long tail cast on. So you're going to keep doing those pairs. I'm just going to do this in silence for a while so that you can watch what I'm doing. So you're going to keep doing this in pairs. Now I want 48 stitches. So I'm going to do 23 pairs of these to give me 46 right here. And I have this initial twisted loop. And then I'll just end with a standard long tail cast on at the end. So I'll have a single stitch, a bunch of pairs, and then a single stitch. If you want this to actually end up stretchy, you have to make sure that you're controlling your tension as you're casting on. So as I'm casting on and I'm tightening up those loops, see, I'm just using my thumb to tighten it up enough so that that meets up with the needle. I'm not tightening it up like this so these are right next to each other and everything's super tight under there. That is going to create a rigid edge regardless of whether you're doing an Estonian cast on or standard long tail cast on. You need to tighten up just enough to bring that loop up to the needle, and you're leaving enough space right here so that it's about as wide as the yarn is thick. When you do the second one, that's going to just naturally bring them closer together because of the way that loop surrounds both of them. But again, gentle with your tension. You're not trying to strangle this thing, you're just trying to create loops on the needle. So I'm just down to my last pair of stitches. So I do the standard long tail cast on, tighten it up so that I can do the reverse one. And now I need a single stitch at the end. So I just do a regular long tail cast on. And now I'm going to join in the round. At this point, all of the stitches on the needle, there's a stitch on the needle and a twisted loop below the needle, but that first one we cast on is just a left twisting loop. There's no stitch above it, and that's where we're going to create that right now. So we're going to do just a regular knit stitch for this. And because I'm using magic loop, I need to get it onto the back needle. If you're using if you've got a circular needle full of stitches, you just put your beginning of round marker there, but I'm just going to pull this like that. And now I have a pair of stitches here. This is the one that twists to the right, and this is the one that twists to the left. And when we weave in the yarn tail, we'll make them not only match everything else, but it will create a jogless join. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work an inch or so of ribbing so that I have some fabric, and then I can show you how to weave in those yarn tails. All right, I finished my swatch and I want to weave in the ends. So thread that onto a yarn needle. So this stitch right here is the last one that we physically cast on, and you can see when this is crossed over, it has that right lean. And what we are looking for is that twisted loop that we created for the first physical cast on stitch that became the last stitch of the round. So we're looking, it's a little tricky to see, but if you look at this horizontal strand right there, and then you can see there's this little strand right here and that one. So those are the two legs of that particular loop. So we want to take our needle and going from left to right, we want to go under those two legs like that. And we're going to thread this through. You can see the needle is above the yarn here. So I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, and now I'm going to poke that back down underneath that horizontal strand. So now I have created a horizontal strand over the tops of those two single stitches that were cast on at the beginning and the end. So it can create that continuity, and it also avoids a jog. So then you can turn this to the inside, and then you can run it up a stitch. So I've got a column of knits here. I'm going to go under this bump here, up this column of stitches. I could go, this is a little swatch, but if I had something longer, I could go up a little bit longer come around the back side of that stitch, and then go down a stitch or two, and then cut that off so that the tail doesn't poke out the end. If you have any comments or questions about this video or suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, you can leave those down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.